Hello, everybody. How's it going today? We are back for another Bible story reading, and we are going to be picking up with the story of Esther. We're going to be in Esther chapter 3 today. For those of you who might be joining for the very first time, let me tell you what we do here. We go through different stories of the Bible for people who don't know the stories. Maybe you have never read them for yourself. Perhaps you only know what somebody else has told you about them, or you have forgotten them. Whatever the reason is, this is an opportunity for you to learn the Bible stories and know what they say for yourself. So if they come up in conversation or you hear somebody talking about them, you know what they're talking about. We've been going through the story of Esther. We left off in chapter 2 where Esther's cousin Mordecai had overheard a couple of eunuchs saying they were going to kill the king. Now remember, Esther has just become his brand new queen, and they were going to kill the king. So he reports this to Esther. She lets the king know, and they investigate, and the guys were found out to be plotting this murder, and they're hanged. So she saves the king's life. And now we're going to move on to chapter 3. After all of this took place, King Ahasuerus honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. He promoted him in rank and gave him a higher position than all the other officials. The entire royal staff at the king's gate bowed down and paid homage to Haman, because the king had commanded this to be done for him. But Mordecai would not bow down or pay homage. The members of the royal staff at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why are you disobeying the king's command?" When they had warned him day after day and he still would not listen to them, they told Haman in order to see if Mordecai's actions would be tolerated, since he had told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai was not bowing down or paying him homage, he was filled with rage. And when he learned of Mordecai's ethnic identity, it seemed repugnant to Haman to do away with Mordecai alone. He planned to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout Ahasuerus' kingdom. In the first month, the month of Nisan, in King Ahasuerus' 12th year, that is, the lot was cast before Haman for each day in each month, and it fell on the 12th month, the month Adar. Then Haman informed King Ahasuerus, "There is one ethnic group scattered throughout the people in every province of your kingdom, keeping themselves separate. Their laws are different from everyone else's, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If the king approves, let an order be drawn up authorizing their destruction, and I will pay 375 tons of silver to the officials for deposit in the royal treasury." The king removed his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jewish people. Then the king told Haman, "The money and people are given to you to do with as you see fit." The royal scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and the order was written exactly as Haman commanded. It was intended for the royal satraps, the governors of each of the provinces, and the officials of each ethnic group, and written for each province in its own script, and to each ethnic group in its own language. It was written in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with a royal signet ring. Letters were sent by couriers to each of the royal provinces telling the officials to destroy, kill, and annihilate all Jewish people, young and old, women and children, and plunder their possessions on a single day, the 13th day of Adar, the 12th month. A copy of the text issued as law throughout every province was distributed to all the people so that they might get ready for that day. The couriers left, spurred on by royal command, and the law was issued in the fortress of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, while the city of Susa was in confusion. That's the end of chapter 3. So there are 3 ways that we look at these stories and scriptures and verses when we read them. 1, what does it say? We have to have reading comprehension. You have to actually know what it says, the words on the page. Next, what was it saying to the people of the time? What's the culture? What's the history? What's the context? Where are we in the story? And last but not least, what, if anything, is it saying to us today? This is a very interesting part of the story. Mordecai, who is Esther's cousin that has adopted her, has decided he is not going to bow down to this man, Haman, that the king has set up as basically his right-hand man. He's in the highest position possible in all of the land. He probably went home and told his family, hey, I just got a promotion at work today, and he's been set up as this everything next to the king. It's the king and then it's Haman. Well, he orders people to start bowing down to him. And Mordecai is not going to do that because the Jews know that they are not to bow down before anybody other than God himself. And so Haman's not bowing down. Well, Mordecai is not bowing down to Haman. Word gets to Haman that Mordecai is not bowing down. And when he finds out why, he finds out it's because he's a Jew. And Mordecai is mortified. He's very upset. And he decides that he's going to not only have Mordecai killed, but all of the Jews throughout all of the land. Now, there have been other times in history where the Jews have been unliked, hated for absolutely no reason other than they were Jews. In most recent history, that happened during the Holocaust of World War II. So that was not the only time in history that the Jews have been hated and that their lives have been sought. So we see now that Haman is going to figure out when and where and how to kill all of these Jews. And he casts some lots. He basically is like rolling some dice that will determine what day and month this is to take place. Then he goes to the king and he says, hey, there's a people group, there's an ethnic group that refuses to do what you want in the land. They have their own laws. They've separated themselves. They're trying to do things their own way, and we shouldn't tolerate that. So he gets the king's permission to make this decree that will annihilate the Jews, every last one of them. And he gets the king's signet ring, which is very important. Today it would be like getting something notarized. It's an official stamp. He gets the king's ring and he stamps this decree with the ring, and it goes out to all of the people in all of their separate languages and all of the realm that the king is in charge of. And it says on this particular day, let's see, what day was that going to be? The 13th day of Adar, the 12th month. So the 13th day of the 12th month, everybody is to, if they see a Jew, they are to kill the Jews and plunder them. And this copy got sent out and was issued as law. This wasn't just something that they suggested or that they just gave permission to do. This was a law. You are to kill the Jews if you see them. Like I said, this is not the first time or the last time that we see in history that the Jews have been sought out. But what we know from all of the previous readings that we've done is that the Jews have been separated out by God as his chosen people for whatever reason. That was a covenant that he made with Abraham way back in Genesis. He made a covenant with Abraham. He made a covenant with Jacob. And he said, I am going to make your descendants like all the seas of the sand, like all the stars of the sky. And he promised that they would be an everlasting people. So we already know, just from that, we get a heads up as to what's going to happen as we progress in the story. We already know that the Jews are not going to all be annihilated, right? But how are they going to be preserved? That's the real story there. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. We go live on Facebook with all sorts of teachings, and you can find us there at Get Clear Teachings. But in the meantime, hit that like and subscribe button. That is the end of chapter 3 of Esther. When we get together again, we will move on in the story. I hope you learned something today. I hope you're enjoying this story. It's a pretty fascinating one. Well, you have a great day, and God bless you.